We start with a bunch of dopey scientists somehow letting their new super dangerous mutant psycho dino, the D-Rex, escape their supposedly super secure facility via some hilariously stupid final destination type shit, and all because they couldn't be bothered to throw their chocolate wrappers in the friggin' garbage. Not a joke.
Snickers satisfies.
You're not you when you're hungry.
Anyway, after the opening title card, more title cards tell us that 15 years or so later in the present day, people are well fed up of stinking dinos after 30 odd years after their miraculous resurrection by mad inhuman science, and have now left the remaining ones to go do their thing peacefully around the equator and shit, and a place where human travel is strictly forbidden. You know, like a nun's clunge and stuff. And before you can say, why are dinos struggling to adapt and totally going extinct when I thought the entire point of this franchise was life always finding a way, we meet local big pharma exec and Orlando Bloom looky-likey fella Martin Krebs, who recruits military covert operative Zora Bennett for a super secret special mission over on Dinosaur Island, given she specialises in extractions and retrievals, and who's so dang reliable and competent, she openly admits to her new prospective employer that she just lost a close friend on her last job. No! Yet for some reason, he's still willing to pay millions to get her on board, and brags about his quote, deep pockets. Whilst I proceed to get triggered with flashbacks, because the last time a bloke tried to show a girl his deep pockets, my magic mate Dynamo Dave got done for soliciting a minor and told never to ask kids to reach into his pockets to retrieve his disappearing wand as part of a backstage warm-up act ever again. Did you? Anyway. So after selling herself for a huge bunch of zeros like some shameless OnlyFans skit, he introduces her to paleontologist Dr. Henry Loomis, whose only defining character trait seems to be eating peanuts rather loudly.
You ready?
Yeah. It's thrilling stuff.
Anyway, turns out they need to go to this island in order to retrieve samples of biomaterial from the 3 largest remaining prehistoric specimens, because they apparently hold the key to a new heart disease treatment for sickly humans.
Sounds dangerous.
It is. Very dangerous.
Count me in.
And they need to go extract said biomaterial from the largest swimming dino, the Mosasaurus, the largest aerial bird dino, the Quetzalcoatlus, and the largest fat-ass land-dwelling beast, the Piers Morgan. I mean Titanosaurus. So after teaming up with Zara's old mate Duncan Kincaid to lead the expedition, well given he's got a fast boat and also brings a bit of prestige to this lazy popcorn movie as a bona fide Oscar winner, he in turn brings along his own crew consisting of boat driver Leclerc, tatted up mercenary Nina, and British security chief Bobby Atwater. Later, whilst heading out to sea, the crew do a bit of bonding, while Zara catches up with Duncan, who says he's recently split from his wife, given neither can get over the death of their little kiddie, while she just tells him that she's a childless workaholic on the wrong side of 40, who also missed her own mother's funeral.
Damn!
Elsewhere, local Latino Ruben Delgado is out on a family sailing trip with his daughters Isabella and Teresa, a final family trip before Alteza leaves for college. And before you can say, well, I guess it wouldn't be a Jurassic movie without highly annoying kids what can't act for toffee.
I said I didn't go past the bridge.
People do.
How would I know what people do? The only people I've spoken to in the past 4 years are you both.
Oh, good lord!
He unfortunately also has to put up with a lazy obnoxious boyfriend Xavier Dobbs. And before he can bollock him for sleeping through his turn at the wheel, the whole family is suddenly harassed by a giant fuck-off dino whale, who rudely capsizes their boat and almost drowns Ruben's entire fucking bloodline.
Not cool, man. Not cool.
Meanwhile, the professionals get to hunting for their first target in the midst of one of the biggest expanses of ocean on the planet. Luckily, the giant sea-guzzling Mosasaurus was initially tagged in captivity, so they can still track it pretty easily because reasons. And once almost upon it, they pick up the SOS of the random Mexicans who are just victims of a drive-by hate crime by a massive Jurassic racialist. So naturally, the crew are pretty torn, because on the one hand their target worth millions is right in front of them barely 30 miles away, but on the other, a handful of Hispanics are stranded in the middle of the ocean amidst the hunting ground of a giant sea monster that could come back at any minute.
Yes, that's a real pickle.
Also naturally, the 2 straight white males, including the big farmer bloke and the callous British security chief, just want to get on with their day already. whilst all the other bleeding heart libtards can't really just leave a bunch of stinky foreigners in the sea for the government to pick up and deal with, because Tom Homan and the boys might pass by and totally deport their asses.
You're done! You're done!
So because it's his boat and so what he says goes, I guess, Captain Kincaid soon overrules Budget Orlando Bloom and heads back to go get them already. And he just can't believe he has to take orders from some chocolate geezer with a shit hat and who can't even get a basic Blade movie up and running.
No, he's got a point.
Anyway, once on board, this highly traumatised family who've just been rescued from a waking nightmare where they barely escaped with their lives also can't believe they've been picked up by a boat who is specifically looking for the Aqua Tormentor and are now heading directly toward it for round 2.
Fuck my life.
Luckily, they're pretty well prepared and the best at what they do, so only the callous British security chief dies horrifically in the pursuit of extracting the Mesosaurus's goo.
Yay?
And after being attacked by the Dino Whale's homeboys who want sweet revenge for poking their mate with a tiny prick and sucking out its juices without even buying it dinner first, Teresa tries to call for help over the radio, but is quickly stopped by a panicking Legolas, who is desperate to keep all this utterly mental shit on the down low, bro. And she's soon knocked overboard and just left to fall and drown by a geezer who clearly gives no fucks about letting little teenage Latinas become monster chow.
Oh, that's cold.
Especially since no one will ever know now that she's totally defo dead, lol, trust me bro. So a heroic Xavier quickly jumps into the drink to go save his teeny bae, whilst her own dad just shrugs and focuses on the last remaining kid who was always his favourite, I guess. And after trying to outrun the relentless spiky fellas in shallow water, the local DEI hire soon runs the ship aground, now leaving them all scattered and marooned on an abandoned island full of deadly mutant monsters and shit.
Standard.
Later, the Latino fam all link up and totally celebrate how they all managed to survive and keep doing that living thing, whilst the other group over at the beach ain't quite so lucky, as tatted up Nina soon gets murked by a sneaky spiker and dragged off into the sea to turn the deep blue red. And just leaving her chocolatey boss constantly shouting her name like she's just casually wandered off for a quick paddle in the sea.
Nina! 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 Shut the fuck up, you cunt!
Also later, an injured Reuben reassures his daughter Teresa that her sister will be totally fine living through this walking nightmare and unending hellscape of horrors, and her mental health totally won't be compromised by severe emotional trauma at all, lol, also trust me bro. Whilst back at the beach, a reluctant Orlando Gloom finally tells the group how 15 years ago or so, some dopey scientists let loose a bunch of genetically modified experiments by carelessly misplacing a Snickers wrapper and soon got a dose of instant karma by engaging in thoughtless littering. And further explains, and in quite a meta way now I think about it, how they were in fact trying to make dinos that were actually interesting again. Much like every new entry in this entire franchise, to be fair.
Engineered entertainments, they call them.
Genetically altered freaks?
And before you can say, I guess this is where Dylan Mulvaney was cooked up then.
I'm a girl who gets facial hair, and that is absolutely okay. I'm feeling silky smooth and confident thanks to EOS. Love ya!
Zara tells them to stop moping around talking about Rachel Ziegler and other but ugly failed experiments what should have been aborted before being released on an undeserving world, because her backup team is due to be doing a flyby at a certain spot in 2 days' time to check for any survivors, so they need to get over there pronto to be picked up and stuff. Meanwhile, the Latinos try to figure out their next move, while Xavier just laces about and tries to offer weed to Dora the Explorer.
You don't smoke, you do smoke?
No.
And after the other groups start losing the will to live, listening to this specky doc bagging on about climate change and how humans are the real ones what deserve to go extinct, given how badly we treat the environment, while constantly tossing away plastic wrappers of sugary snacks and totally choking a bunch of turtles with plastic straws for shits and giggles, Dora does some exploring and comes across a little baby dino thing, what later comes back to have a nice sleep on her lap, and for some reason feels instantly comfortable around a giant predator, exactly like the showrunner of The Acolyte, what used to assist Harvey Weinstein for years.
LOL!
Anyway, Reuben finally relents and totally thanks his potential son-in-law for jumping in so quick to save his firstborn child from drowning and getting gobbled up by vicious sea monsters, especially when he himself forgot to even give a shit, and instead focused on his other kid who's a little cuter, and who I assume he plans to send to auditions over at Nickelodeon for the live-action Dora sequel or some shit. Naturally, all this gay emotional stuff soon stimulates Savvy Boy's bladder, and who hilariously almost gets eaten by a pterodactyl preparing his dinner directly behind, which just results in him voiding said bladder much faster, and likely needing to drop trow and do a number 2 too pronto.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Later, the main lot finally track down the Titanosaurus fellas in a small field. And after rubbing up against their legs without their consent and rudely sucking out their juices to boot, the Latinos do what they do best and fall over some more, further exacerbating Ruben's leg injury and almost crushing the poor baby dino in the process. And worryingly, she acts all scared at something and promptly pushes out like a riot yak.
Oh shit, not good.
So trying to retrieve a small dinghy to help with travelling due to a daddy's gammy leg, they inadvertently play magical peekaboo with a newly awakened T-Rex.
Not a great plan.
And are soon chased down the river and yet again capsized by a relentless hungry dino beast who's totally craving some Mexican tapas for his breakfast.
Feels like I can't catch a break.
And before you can say, oh, why are you wasting precious screen time when we all know you ain't ever going to kill a kid in these flicks, and how on earth can this fearsome Tyrannosaurus not even catch a disabled Hispanic fella with a dodgy leg, and nor even pierce a small inflatable despite stomping on and chomping straight through it for frig's sake, they promptly evade the ancient apex predator.
Super easy, barely an inconvenience.
Now with just one more hellbeast sample to go before they can head home and cure human heart disease forever, they rappel down a giant fuck off rock face to go find some big bird eggs. And once they do, they soon get on with the poking and juice sucking already. Whilst the doc then proposes that instead of handing this shit over to the clearly corrupt big pharma exec, who kind of have a track record with lying to the public about their ethical practices in medicine, he suggests instead open sourcing it and sharing it with the whole world to create said cure, so nobody or one person would officially own the patent just to milk it for billions. But Zora ain't too sure, cause she's all like,
yeah, I like money though.
But unfortunately, they ain't really got time to ponder all this gay shit, cause Mama Bird soon turns up and just can't believe she's come home to the sight of a college professor molesting her offspring without her permission like it's a standard Tuesday morning at Harvard. Cause penetrating her eggs and potentially mutilating her unborn kids before they're even born are like they're at some sort of Planned Parenthood clinic, just ain't fucking on, son. So she unleashes a can of whoop-ass on the intruders and soon gobbles up the irrelevant black boat skipper Leclerc. And after escaping the Quetzalcoatlus by simply surviving what should be a clearly fatal fall from a severe height, the gang take their completed samples and head on over to the helicopter rendezvous point, and totally expose and bollock phony fake Orlando Bloom for not helping poor Teresa not fall into the sea to drown like some pathetic channel migrant. So he just whips out a shooter and handcuffs the sample case to his wrist, before the reunited gang all come under attack from some mutated flying dinos.
No. We're completely fucked, we're completely fucked.
But luckily, Zora and Bloomy Boy totally distract it by missing it completely with bullets, whilst Dora picks up the baby for safety and takes a leaf out of its book by totally cucking out and hiding away in a small gas stop refrigerator.
Oh wow, that was pretty smart, I can't lie.
Meanwhile, Captain Black Guy and the doc soon spot the rescue chopper, whilst Orlando does some cucking of his own and gets the heck out of Dodge in a somehow still working motor what ain't been driven in over 15 years.
Really?
Oh, come on!
The doc then lights up a flare and successfully gets the chopper's attention. But unfortunately, because said chopper is being piloted by yet another DEI hire, and this time in the form of a stunning and brave liberal white woman, they let everyone down and fly right into the jaws of a giant fuck-off mutant xenobeast from hell.
You had one job, you didn't do it right.
Now on their own and practically totally screwed, they plan to head down a drainage gate to the sea and just hope there's still a working boat or some shit. But first have to try and get through a massive gate before they get munched up by naughty dino freaks. Luckily, Dora nuts up and sneaks through the bars, only to get further traumatised by coming face to face with some sort of xenomorph-infused Jurassic mutant and promptly wetting her kecks.
I totally get it.
And after getting a grip of herself and finally opening the gate, Katy Perry's ex-Floozy accidentally arrives back at just in the nick of time given his Google Maps on the fritz, and promptly gets snatched up by the weirdo Frankenmonster. And he looks like it's curtains for the guy who looks like the result of Orlando Bloom and Pedro Pascal having a fully grown retarded baby, and soon gets himself decapitated, while Zora grabs the case and promptly ushers the others down to the docks, where they soon realise the big ugly fella's a complete autist and totally attracted to bright lights and easily distracted by shiny flashy things, given the Rancor rip-offs clearly on the spectrum. So Captain Kincaid goes and does one of them self-sacrifice things, given he don't want another dad to lose his child like he did. Whilst the group then jump in a conveniently placed and totally still somehow functioning boat and speed off to safety just in the nick of time. and leaving the Bella Ramsey cosplaying Down syndrome dino to live out his days all alone, and with not a single friend to play with on his exclusive private island.
Oh lord! Oh god, this is just horrible. And I almost feel sorry for him now.
And because the movie can't possibly have 2 African American characters killed off in one film, and thus risk the studio getting boycotted for bigotry by loads of BLM nutters or some shit, Kincaid suddenly pops up, having totally survived his deadly off-screen encounter, and must just be silently crying inside, realising he now still has to do his Marvel contract.
No, God! No, God, please, no! No!
And we end with the gang sailing back home mostly A-OK, having successfully protected multiple young girls from a forbidden island for the freakish predators, and this time not one involving Jeffrey Epstein and his pervy mates for once.
Oh, thank God.
And Zora decides to indeed give the precious medical samples to the world, and not greedy Globo Homo Corpo goons who'll inevitably use a technological breakthrough to decide who gets to live and die simply via how much money they can charge for it. Whilst they all then head off into the sunset and toward a climate that the movie already explained at the start cannot possibly support dino life. So sorry little guy, but...
Sucks to be you!
And that's it, that's the movie. Though my favourite part, well, aside from that weird inflatable dinghy seemingly being made of the strongest synthetic rubber known to man, and also how expensive therapy is going to be for that little girl after being twice capsized in a boat, almost drowning on 2 separate occasions, and generally being eaten alive by multiple apex predators, was how Scarlett Johansson's intro scene was undoubtedly how she was originally convinced to do the movie in the first place. Hey, this idea sucks, I ain't gonna do it, pal. Oh really? Here's 10 million bucks. Son of a gun, I'll fucking do it.
That's what I thought.
But anyway, that's the plot and that's your lot. Considering that bell thing so you don't miss any future recaps. Tell me if you like this flick in the comments, if you have time. And I'll harass and manhandle innocent creatures who are just trying to live their lives and totally be left alone in their natural habitat with you in the next one.